a todos, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a otro episodio más de Grips and Mix, el podcast de BJJ Canarias con mi amigo Jay Campbell, alias de Indian Cholo, el cholo indio.
¿Qué tal, Hellboy?
Bien.
Bien.
Nada, acá tuvimos la suerte de tener a Eddy con nosotros, aquel muchacho con ese bigote tan particular,
Tan
como
propio
Emiliano.
de él. Sí, como nuestro director.
Nada, otra oportunidad de tener otro cinto negro de Templane también de Eddy Bravo, ¿no?
Sí, tiene su movimiento
Sí, nos habló
especial,
un poco.
el
Yo
Hindulotine.
le echó la broca porque se llama Hindulotine.
Nada que ver con mi familia.
Claro, no dice, ¿por qué le pusiste hindú? Yo le quiso faltar respeto y todo. Nada,
Ah.
nos comentó un poco de su preparación, de su historia, de cómo va a ser va a participar en el combat Jiu Jitsu otra vez, fue campeón de los 61
Sí,
kilos de la
cómo
promoción.
enfoca él el entrenamiento cuando entrena Jiu Jitsu y
Cuando entró
combat
en el
Jiu
combat
Jitsu,
Jiu
¿no?
Jitsu, un poco de su experiencia, tuvo una larga temporada, unos 3 meses dando seminarios por Europa, cómo funcionan sus seminarios a base de donaciones.
Exacto. También nos comentó al final del podcast su experiencia con la marihuana y los psicodélicos. Sabemos que la marihuana está estrechamente relacionada con
Bastante
Jiu Jitsu
ligada,
y eso.
sí. Él, lo que decía, también el tema de los hongos y los alucinógenos y los psicodélicos está un poco como estigmatizado. Como
Sí, él dio su punto de vista
versión
personal y lo usaba más como para algo personal, ¿no?
Sí, la verdad que estuvo bastante bueno, buena historia.
Sí.
Empezó con Dani Procopos, estuvo viviendo con Gio, todo con los tops, ¿no?
Exacto. Cuando dio el salto de entrenar por hobby hasta
sí,
cuando
a echar una mano a Eddy con la preparación para el Metamoris, así que fue una bastante buena, me gustó la entrevista.
Sí.
Así que nada, esperemos que les guste.
Eso es todo.
Nada, primera pregunta, lo que le preguntamos a todos, ¿no? Que
Sí.
cómo era su vida antes de conocer el Jiu-Jitsu, ¿no?
¿Cómo lo conoces? Claro.
Okay. Ben, first of all, we'd like to know how was your life before you came to know Jiu-Jitsu?
It's pretty good. At that time I was in San Francisco. I just moved to San Francisco when I was 20. I kind of moved there for the technology and startup scene. Actually, I had been doing online marketing and was in just kind of making money for myself and kind of moved out there to kind of follow that scene and being interested in the technology and startups. So I just started out jiu-jitsu as kind of a hobby, something to do on the side. And then slowly it kind of took over.
Okay, okay, cool, man. We'll translate this one and then we'll follow the next one, okay? Okay. Dice que muy
Normal,
bien.
sí.
Sí, normal. Y que en ese entonces tenía 20 años y que se había mudado a San Francisco para seguir la escena de tecnología y las startups y eso, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
Marketing online.
Claro,
Y tal.
sobre todo para estudiar, dice, buscarse la vida, ganarse la vida por él mismo, ¿no?
Sí,
por
exacto.
trabajo, vivir. Y que nada, como todos, empezó siendo un hobby.
Sí.
Ahora le vamos a preguntar si empezó de...
¿En dónde empezó? ¿En qué academia y eso?
Sí.
Vale. Ben, now we want to ask you, in which academy did you start and how did you go from there, like your journey?
So, I was kind of looking around for different gyms I was looking around for something to do that was, more than a gym, really, something to stay in shape, but something that could kind of push me. I was doing, I was involved in tech and startups, like I was saying, but I wanted something that could push me physically. And I actually grew up wrestling. I wrestled in middle school and high school, and I really liked competing. I really liked how that felt. And so that's kind of what I was looking for, was something that I could possibly even compete in a little bit. But I didn't even know that jiu-jitsu was a sport. So when I started looking around, I couldn't find anything for wrestling, and I saw that jiu-jitsu was a thing. And so I was like, wow, this is perfect. It's just wrestling with submissions, and people are just doing this off into their older age. With wrestling, it seems like it's just done after school, whereas I was seeing with jiu-jitsu, people are just doing this at all ages. They're still competing. There's a whole scene around this. I was like, wow, okay, this is awesome, So I just started looking around the schools there, and I found the 10th Planet School with Denny Procopos, and Denny is Eddy's first black belt, and that just kind of jumped out at me at first because it's no gi. So it kind of like matched my wrestling background. I looked at that like versus the gi, and it just kind of made more sense to me. So, and when I went into his classroom, it was a bunch of people kind of around my age, even Denny's like my age as well. And it just felt like a cool group of people that were all having fun, like even kind of like learning the sport. Like what I really noticed like at first was that it really seemed like jiu-jitsu was a sport that was evolving, that was really being figured out. Which is something, whereas with wrestling, it was like, you know, they kind of told you, look, this is how you shoot a double, this is how you shoot a single. We've been doing this forever, you know. You don't figure this out. You just do it. Hit it, you know. So I really like that aspect about jiu-jitsu, where it seemed like it was something that was being figured out and still evolving.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I started with Denny Procopos there in San Francisco. It's like Eddy's first black belt.
Nice. You've never put a gi on, Ben, or you've tried the gi?
No, I've never even put one on.
Okay, nice. Okay, we'll translate this one. Nada, dice que eso, que estaba buscando gimnasios en la zona,
Sí.
sobre todo estaba buscando algo que le sirviera para ponerse en forma, ¿no?
Claro. Ese, bueno, habló como casi todos, ¿no? Que tienen el background de la lucha,
De
¿no?
la
Que es
lucha.
muy típico en Estados Unidos. Entonces, nada, que también le gustaba eso de
Competir.
generar algo que competir, y como
Sí.
le gustaba un deporte, algo que lo mantenga bien físicamente, pero como que tenga como margen de mejora, ¿no?
Sí,
Digamos.
sí.
Eh,
En ese entonces él no sabía ni que Jiu Jitsu era un deporte, ¿no?
Claro.
Pero después vio lo que era y dice, esto es parecido al wrestling, pero con finalizaciones.
sí, como que era el movimiento lógico. Mucha gente que terminaba de la carrera de lucha en el secundario, como que se metía, ¿no?
Claro, eso, después de eso,
Como que era
exactamente.
lo que seguía, ¿no? Como que era
Sí,
algo que estaba bastante asociado.
eso, después Jiu-Jitsu también puedes hacerlo mucho más, por mucho más tiempo, ¿no?
Claro.
Veía gente que de edad más avanzada que podían
Sí.
hacer Jiu-Jitsu, en cambio la lucha, eso, dice que normalmente termina el instituto tal y,
Claro.
y ahí ya se termina.
Y también como porque el jiu-jitsu como que siempre va creciendo y hay muchas cosas, como que muchas cosas más para estudiar, ¿no?
Sí,
Como
que
que es un camino mucho más largo, ¿no?
exacto, que siempre está en continua evolución, eso
Sí.
también le llamó mucho la atención, ¿no? Y
Sí.
entonces al final se topó con un Templanet allí,
Sí.
¿no?
De San Francisco.
Sí, de Denis Procopos, si
Sí.
no lo pronuncio mal,
Sí,
que es
el primer cinto negro de Eddie Bravo.
Exactamente, que estaba diciendo Ben que también es de su edad, que
Claro.
también el grupo de gente que había ahí era más o menos de su edad, más
Sí.
o menos en la misma onda estaban
Claro.
todos, ¿no?
Sí, y dice eso, que encima al ver de la lucha, que ser no gi, como que era el paso más normal, lo más lógico, ¿no?
Mm,
Y nada, que bueno, ese fue su comienzo con Dani Procopo, que es el primer cinto negro de Eddie.
exacto. Entonces,
Eso, como siempre, ¿no? Cómo fue más o menos el crecimiento y cuándo se empezó a dedicar más de lleno a esto y vio que podía competir.
vale. Ben, from there, like, how was your progression, like, briefly, and when was the peak moment that you decided that you want to do this for a living?
Yeah. You know, so from there, like I did kind of start competing early on, but you know, again, just kind of for fun, just because it was fun to be able to compete again. And also with my, you know, working online, I was working for myself, so I could kind of set my own hours, and so it was easy for me to train a lot. So I did train a lot, but I had it like securely in the hobby, like kind of category. But you know, about like 4 or 5 years later, I was a purple belt. I was like a decent way into my purple belt at the time. And Eddy was getting ready for his rematch with Foiler against on Metamorphs, you know. And so it was like a big deal. Like a bunch of people in 10th Planet were going down to train with Eddy, and there's a lot of hype around it and a lot of energy. And I was like, man, I you know, I got to go down to LA and see like this and train with Eddy and be around the scene, you know, while it's happening. So I ended up going down to LA, training with Eddy and being in that for about a month. And then Eddy, during that time, Eddy was talking about this new tournament that he wanted to put on with a submission shootout in the overtime, which ended up being his EBI, you know, tournament. And he invited me and Gio to compete in the first one. So then I was talking to Gio, and Gio was like, dude, you should just come and live with me in the fighter house. We got a fighter house in Oceanside. Come live and train with us leading up to this EBI, and we'll compete together on the card, you know? So I just ended up going with it and went down and lived in the garage with Gio in this fighter house in Oceanside, and we trained together for next like 4 months. and then competed together on that EBI one. And I think that was kind of the big main switch for me to like kind of seeing like jiu-jitsu more full time and kind of tech more behind, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we go with this one. Bueno, antes le había preguntado que si ha entrenado alguna vez en kimono y me dijo que no, que nunca.
Eso nunca, ¿no?
Sí, exacto.
Ahora empezó eso, comentó de vuelta que, claro, que él empezó a competir muy temprano, pero esas ganas que él tenía, ¿no? Que comentó anteriormente de entrenar.
Pero que seguía haciéndolo como hobby, ¿no?
Claro, o sea,
lo veía como hobby.
Claro. Decía que también, bueno, que a los 4 o 5 años él ya era morado con cierto nivel. Y dice que fue la época que Eddy Bravo iba a hacer la famosa revancha contra Royler, que fue en el Metamoris. Entonces que fue invitado a entrenar con ellos un mes a Los Ángeles, ¿no?
A Los Ángeles.
Que estaban todos los más avanzados dándole una mano a Eddy, ¿no?
Exacto. También antes de eso dijo que también cuando competía por hobby, que te podía meter muchas horas de entrenamiento porque trabajaba como online, para sí mismo, y entonces él se podía gestionar las horas, ¿no?
Vale, sí, que eso ayudó mucho, claro.
Sí, exacto.
Nada, dice que justo en esa época fue que Eddy Bravo empezó a hablar de eso, del nuevo formato que quiere hacer, que está hablando del EBI, y que lo invita a él y a Gio a ser partícipe de la primera edición, ¿no?
Exacto.
Entonces él hablando con Gio le dice que se vaya a entrenar con ellos, que tenía tipo una fighter house, ¿no? Una casa donde podían vivir, en un garaje ahí en Oceanside, que es donde tiene Gio el gimnasio.
Exacto. Y ahí estuvieron 4 meses, ¿no? Por ahí entrenando.
Entonces ahí entiende que es cuando empezó a darle de tiempo completo prácticamente al entreno, ¿no?
Exacto.
Le podemos preguntar si ya a esa altura era seguidor, porque claro, a él le pasa que en la primera edición se encuentra con Jeff Fleur, que es una estrella, ¿no?
Sí.
Quiero decir si lo sorprendió, si él conocía el panorama, si sabía dónde se metía, con quién se enfrentaba, si estaba al tanto de si era seguidor del deporte hacia ese nivel, de decir, wow, me voy a competir contra tal.
Vale, vamos a preguntarles. Ben, we want to ask you now, like at that moment when you went to compete at EBI, the first EBI, like there were some big names that you had to go against too. Were you aware of the scene and all the big names at that moment, or you just went straight ahead and you didn't didn't care?
Are we just like prepping the interview, or is this the interview? I was wondering.
Sorry?
Are we just like prepping for the interview, or is this the interview?
No, this is the interview.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't. If it wasn't clear, sorry.
No, that's cool. That's good. But yeah, so no, I was pretty aware. Like I would watch like a lot of like videos. I was always watching, you know, like the ADCCs and the tournaments, and I did a lot of studying. And even though I had it like kind of in the hobby field, like I love like dropping my mind into it, you know. So like I was aware of like none of us knew really what EBI was going to do or how that was going to turn out. That was really, you know, new. Like none of us. Yeah. That was, you know, at that time it was pretty like a weird concept doing like these shootout overtimes, you know. So so none of us knew where that was going, but I knew who Jeff Glover was, you know, and you know, Gio and I like training together, like Gio knew like that was like his chance to like take himself to like the next level if he could knock off Jeff Glover, you know. Like we would talk a lot about, you know, this upcoming match with possibly, you know, Jeff and because Jeff's definitely one of those guys that hit sport and is big name in sport. So, but yeah, I kind of just came into it like totally focused on my rubber guard. I kind of had like especially at that time, like pretty unorthodox like rubber guard like game, and I had come up with this like kind of leg gang guillotine like move like only really a few months before, but it was really feeling good to me. Like I really liked how I was feeling. So I just really focused on that. I just told myself, you know, you're a purple belt. There's no expectations here for you. Just focus 100% on just get them into your rubber guard. They're not going to know what's happening once you get them there. Just get them there, and then that's it. You know, then it'll be done. You know, so I just kind of like allowed myself to focus on that, and it was like I remember it was like one of the first tournaments that I was able to like actually like feel good during, like feel like kind of just like that I was going to get to perform, like enjoy it a bit, like be able to look around, see and enjoy and take it in rather than like being like stressed out or, you know, like trying to get in my own like head and pump myself up or anything. Like like after each one of the matches, when I like on the first match, I hit my Hindulotine I remember I would walk around the crowd and I was talking to people, you know, and everybody were high-fiving and stuff. And I remember I was just really enjoying that day. I would go back up and start to get ready for the next match. And then I hit the Hindulotine again, you know. So I ended up in my first 2 matches being able to hit my move that I had come up with. And so that was really fun. Like I walked around talking with everybody, laughing. And then I knew I had Jeff Glover up next. And so I was like, all right, cool. Let's have this match with Jeff Glover. So for me, I didn't really feel a lot of pressure that night. And that felt really good. It felt really good to give me that kind of like bigger matchup and get in front of a lot of people and also have that feeling of not as much pressure, you know, on me, right? And get that feeling of enjoying performing. Because until that point, even in my wrestling and in all of my jiu-jitsu, that was the biggest reason really why I wanted to pursue jiu-jitsu and pursue something competitive was I wanted to learn how to overcome that, you know, how to overcome being able to compete and your mental mindset that you keep in competing, you know, and how you can make that feel, you know, what does a competitor do in order to overcome that? That's what I really wanted to learn, you know, by pursuing a sport and kind of like taking a little bit deeper, you know. So it was good. It was really good night.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Gio ended up winning. You know, Gio took on Jeff in the finals, and he ended up winning. So we had having like a great night that night, and it was really good.
Okay, nice, man. Nice. We go with this one.
Sí, empezó diciendo que sí, él más o menos miraba el panorama general, ¿no? ADCC, algunas competencias, pero...
Sí, estudiaba también, ¿no? Le dedicaba tiempo. Tiempo.
Sí. También no sabía mucho no sabía como qué esperarse porque era un formato que era nuevo y que era raro para la gente, ¿entendés?
Claro.
Que no sabía mucho qué reacción iba a tener la gente en cuanto a ese torneo en particular.
Exacto. Y nada, eso nos mencionó a Jeff Glover, que era como uno de los grandes nombres ahí en el evento, ¿no?
Sí.
Entonces sí estaban al tanto, él hablaba mucho con Gio, ¿no?
Sí, que yo lo conocía más todavía.
Claro.
Lo ponía al día.
Eso.
También habló un poco de cómo se preparó, en el sentido dice que él se enfocó mucho en su juego, que dice que en ese momento el rubber guard que tenía era como un poco ortodoxo, ¿no? Como un poco raro.
Ya siendo morado ya había empezado a desarrollar ese juego, ¿no?
Claro.
Entonces sí, exacto, se enfocó 100% en eso, dice que la gente no lo conoce y tal, y que me funciona, entonces voy a centrarme en sacar esto en la competición.
Y eso que se sintió que fue sin presión, que disfrutó mucho todo el evento.
Sí.
Nada, y también que después vamos a hilar con la pregunta que tenés apuntada, que finalizó 2 con su movimiento, ¿no?
Exacto.
Entonces, que también... Como que lo disfrutó mucho ver la reacción del público, que la gente gritaba. Tal,
sí, dice que terminó la primera lucha, finalizó con Hindulotine,
y
después dice que iba alrededor del evento y todo el mundo le chocaba la mano, le decía muy buena, tal, no sé qué, entre el público, ¿no?
Claro.
Después la segunda lucha también finalizó con Hindulotine, después le tocaba a Jeff Glover, dice, pues vamos con Jeff Glover, no sentía ningún tipo de presión, lo estaba disfrutando, ¿no? También. Y... nada, al final dice eso, que al final en ese evento la final fue Gio con Jeff Glover, ganó Gio, o sea que estuvieron después celebrando y tal, y no sé qué, ¿no?
Sí.
Y que él también que estaba buscando eso de cómo a nivel competitivo estar mentalmente tranquilo y enfocado, ¿no?
Sí.
Y por eso como que quería ver cómo en un deporte, sobre todo a alto nivel, cómo un atleta podía conseguir eso, ¿no?
Sí. Vale, puta madre.
Vale, entonces le vamos a preguntar eso, que cómo sacó
cómo llegó ese movimiento, y si cree eso que es fundamental. Sabemos que hace mucho énfasis él en su equilibrio y su flexibilidad, y cómo llegó a hacer eso, ese agarre y esa finalización.
Sí. Ben, maybe this question, like everybody asks you, we want to know how did you come up with the Hindulotine? And also like all the stuff maybe many people ask you've said already that it's not needed like that much flexibility, but what do you think about it? And also, why that name? Like, my family is from India, no? I'm from India, and Gonzalo was asking me, look at this move, Ben calls it Hindulotine, do you know why it's that name? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, that was one of the kind of the main things I liked in general about jiu-jitsu, was this kind of feeling that it was evolving and people were coming up with new moves, and you know, I directly saw that people were literally coming up with things, and then the whole sport would change, you know. And me personally, that's just like one of the main things I enjoy. I really enjoy being creative, like thinking about like just like seeing how something works and then flipping it. You know, okay, how does it work this way? How does it work that way? Or, you know, just flipping everything and seeing like what, you know, what can also work because something else works. You know, I just enjoy that kind of like being creative, you know. So I was always kind of in that space of like seeing what would work and what wouldn't. But I was kind of just, you know, I was hanging out in rubber guard for a long time, you know, just and I would just constantly, you know, you're always like overhooking your knee right here in rubber guard. And so a lot of times their head will get off to the side. And so I just started a lot where I was just double overhooking. I was just holding right here. And I was, you know, just hugging on my knee with both arms. I'm like, man, there's, you know, there's got to be something here. You know, I could kind of control them and hold them. But I was like, there's got to be something more here. Maybe I was taking it to omoplata at the time, you know, but I was like, there's got to be something more, you know. And then I ended up just finally kind of feeling like, oh, wait, if I go over here and then, okay, maybe I can get a choke, you know? And so I just kind of like slowly, naturally just like found that there was a choke there. And then when I thought about it, really, it's like, you know, on all arming guillotines or all guillotines, you're always throwing this leg over, you know, that leg is always high. It's always right here on your guillotine, you know? So it's really just right here, you know? It's just a little bit more, you know, you always want to close your guillotine with your leg anyway. So if you can like get your leg inside of it, you know, then it's a full circle. Like this guy's now trapped in a full circle. Like he can't pass the side of your guard anymore. It's you have him in a full circle, you know? So over time, at first I thought it was for sure like really gimmicky and like it wouldn't like last, you know, but over time, like, you know, it's stuck with me. It's still like one of my main submissions I hit all the time. And I think it has a place. I think it has like a certain little place where it's like useful to play. Yeah, I don't think it takes too much flexibility. I think it actually takes a little bit of shoulder flexibility. You know, you're going to need to have like at least enough flexibility to bring your knee to your chest and then kind of like turn your leg sideways, you know, like you're going to need that. You know, I think you're going to need a little like average to above average for that. You know, that's pretty basic. But the biggest thing really is this arm going over, you know, and it kind of turns your shoulder a little bit, turns your arm. So you need kind of a little bit of flexibility this way, you know, and then really you need a little bit of length. You can't be like shorter limbs, you know, it probably you won't be able to reach it, you know. But you know, it's not meant to be one of those moves that's for everybody. It's like my weird specialist move, you know, which I think is like everybody's, you know, I totally get that jiu-jitsu is for everyone. We want to teach this general rubric for like, you know, these are the moves that are accessible to everyone. But, you know, as competitors, it's like, that's what we should have is our little tricks, you know, our little moves. So I like it. But yeah, about the name, like I was only really just coming up with it, just playing with it, like there at Eddy's gym when, you know, he was training up to Metamoris. And so I showed Eddy. I was like, Eddy, look at this. I think there's something here, you know. And he like right away he was like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. I look super crazy. Do you have and he like right away he says like, do you have a name for that, you know, or anything? And I was like, no, I don't even know if it's really legit yet, Eddy. I'm just started playing with it. And he's like, well, that's some crazy flexible stuff. That's like some crazy, that's some crazy Hindu shit. It's so flexible, you know? And so I was like, oh no, like I haven't named it, and Eddy's going to name it right here on the spot. And then it's going to be, you know, like set forever, you know? And that's what he did pretty much. Eddy just named it the Hindulotine because he, you know, in Eddy's head, he's like, that's a super flexible, like Hindu, like kind of, that's some crazy Hindu stuff, you know? So he just, you know, Eddy's head, that's a Hindulotine, you know? And so he films it that day, puts it on MTS, which is like kind of our 10th planet, like kind of group sharing techniques section. And we call it the Hindulotine. So after that was pretty much done, you know, that was the name. So, you know, kind of just a 10th planet-y thing, nothing really about the Hindu, like, you know, culture or religion. It's
Okay.
it's just 10th Planet kind of stuff.
Okay, man. Nice. Okay, we translate this one. Empezó diciendo que le gustaba lo que comentó antes, ¿no? Del Jiu Jitsu, que siempre está evolucionando, que siempre no hay nada fijo, ¿no?
Claro, eso, que siempre se puede mejorar y que siempre hay nuevos movimientos y cuando pensás que está así se cambia de otra manera y también funciona, ¿no?
Exacto. Entonces él dice que él hizo mucho énfasis en que le gusta ser creativo, ¿no?
Claro, que lo disfruta, claro.
Sí, y entonces siempre le gusta cuando explora una posición, pues probar desde ahí qué funciona y qué no funciona, ¿no? Sí. Siempre ir probando los pros y los contras.
Tal cual.
Eso sí dijo que le gusta mucho, ¿no?
Sí, y sobre todo, bueno, dice que una vez, lo que decía, ¿no? Que ya controlaba mucho lo que es rubber guard, mostraba, ¿no? Que es cierto que llega a hacer con cierta facilidad. Sí. Se estaba dando cuenta de, dice, bueno, si aquí tengo esto, o sea, siempre investigando desde una posición, ¿no? Y hablaba de eso, le preguntó a Jay por el tema también de la flexibilidad, y él dice que él tiene una flexibilidad claramente obvia, pero decía que sobre todo se necesita el hombro, ¿no? Como entrar, y también empezó a explicar eso, que es un poco lo que dice Ana, ¿no? De cerrar un círculo. Sí. Mostró cómo con las piernas se queda, que al final dice que es lo mismo que cuando te tirás a guillotina y subís la pierna, claro, pero con la pierna por atrás.
Claro.
Entonces se dio cuenta que es el mismo principio, pero que necesitas un poco de flexibilidad de hombro, sobre todo, decía, ¿no?
Sí, para hacer sí, ese agarre del pie que necesitas, ¿no? Porque dice que eso, lo de la pierna, si consigues llevar la rodilla al hombro, que está bien, y después el pie en la posición esa que llega a él, pues, pero lo más difícil de toda la secuencia es eso, ¿no? La mano que después...
Que entra.
Sí, exacto.
Pero dice eso, que le gusta tener su truco, ¿no? Que sentió que era su truco nuevo.
Exacto.
Que es su misión rara, ¿no? Su cosa rara.
Sí, él dice que al principio cuando llegaba desde la rubber guard hasta el doble overhook ese, que después al principio él iba mucho a omoplata. Claro. Pero después de ahí empezó a investigar.
Claro,
¿no?
Que dice como que nunca se queda con algo fijo, ¿no? Como que siempre lo va cambiando y mejorando y buscando más cosas, ¿no?
Claro, y después decía que eso, incluso para cualquier guillotina, que siempre pasas la pierna por encima, ¿no? Claro. Y de ahí empezó a experimentar y todo lo que...
Claro, con este cierre dice que el oponente no tiene escape por ninguno de los dos lados.
Exacto, y después el otro que decía que sí es verdad que alguien que sea bajito y eso, pues tú no puedes hacer eso.
Sí, no, yo no puedo.
Que sí necesitas ser un poco alto, ¿no? Alto y con extremidades largas, ¿no? Para hacer esto.
Y nada, pero el nombre dice que no le había puesto nombre, que no sabía qué nombre ponerle, y que se lo mostró y dice, Eddy, mira, acá creo que tengo algo nuevo, no sé
en la época del Metamoris, eso, ¿no?
Metamoris, él dijo, ¿cómo diciendo? Dijo,
eso está guapísimo.
Eso es una mierda, tipo hindú, como que se necesitaba mucha flexibilidad, ¿no? Hablando del típico hindú, ¿no? Haciendo yoga, doblado.
Sí.
Y dice que le causó mucha gracia, ¿no? Mezclaron el término hindú con guillotina, ¿no? Guillotín.
Claro. Entonces Eddy le puso el nombre, ¿no? De Hindulotine.
Dice que él estaba buscando y el otro en 2 segundos se lo dijo y estaba buscando el nombre.
Sí. Y ese mismo día Eddy lo grabó y lo subieron a un grupo que tienen ellos que le llamó MTS, que es como el grupo que tienen ellos de 10 Planet para compartir las técnicas y eso.
Como lo adoptaron como parte del sistema, ¿no? Digamos.
Exacto. Y entonces, nada, dice que es un movimiento signature de él, ¿no? Que no necesariamente todo el mundo tiene que hacer esto o puede hacer este movimiento, pero bueno, que todo luchador tiene sus pequeños trucos, ¿no? Y este es uno de él, que desde entonces lo ha mantenido con él, ¿no? Que cuando le hace falta lo tira de ese recurso y...
Es súper efectivo.
Exacto. Y nada, eso que es una cosa de templane, del nombre y nada de cosas con hinduismo ni nada de eso.
No tiene nada que ver.
Exacto.
¿Dónde quieres pasar? ¿Quieres pasar
le podemos preguntar, ya que comentó de la técnica, que en qué aspecto de su juego está trabajando ahora y que si la gente ya ha visto su estilo y ya lo saben defender y eso o no.
Vale.
Sí. Ben, now we want to ask you, since we have talked about the Hindulotine and the development of it, have people already they already know how to neutralize your game, and which aspects of your game are you developing nowadays?
Yeah. And with the Hindulotine, I like to just call it the leg in guillotine. I think that's kind of an easier concept. It's basically your leg in on the guillotine, So I just say a leg in guillotine.
Okay.
But yeah, no, for sure. I mean, now everybody knows I'm playing rubber guard, looking for rubber guard. And so it's not that hard to focus on trying to not allow someone to have closed guard. That's in general what you're trying to not allow them to have is closed guard. But, it also really happens from the overhook. If I have an overhook, then I can switch that overhook. If I can pull you down enough off that overhook or threaten a sweep, then I can switch that overhook to my leg, you know. And then once I switch it to my knee hug, I just got to pull it up, you know. And I'm right still in half guard, you know. My inside leg here isn't in full guard yet. I just switched my overhook for my leg and then switch, you know. So I can still find it just off my overhook and butterfly game. But, you know, even that, like, we're not getting to play butterfly guard too often anymore because everyone's become standing passers. That was something that really came in pretty heavy when legs started hitting the scene and everybody was doing leg locks. And I feel like at that time, everybody switched to becoming a standing passer. You know, before that, it wasn't as popular for everyone to be standing passer. And now everyone's standing passes. You'll never see someone like passing from their knees anymore. Whereas that was really a lot more, you watch ADCC and stuff back before and people were passing from their knees, you know, but now everyone's passing standing. So finding butterfly and finding overhook and underhook, you have to knock them down onto their knees to even start playing that game. So yeah, I've had to like, well, you know, I mean, in the gym, of course, and stuff, you don't see it as much in competition, but I play top and I wrestle, you know, I have a wrestling background and stuff, but in guard, yeah, I've had to play more like De La Rivas and, you know, shin to shin and single leg X and trying to get them different ways to sweep and get them off balance so that it starts to bring them down. So I had to really adapt to like kind of the standing passing for sure. But you know, it's like, that was just like rubber guard is just like a portion of my game. It's something that you see a lot in competition because, you know, because it's there if I can find it. And if I can put it on people, they're not as aware. And also I'm doing a lot of combat jiu-jitsu. I've been kind of pushed into this combat jiu-jitsu route. And so it is more available in combat jiu-jitsu when they're throwing strikes, because then that overhook is available right off that strike, you know, and they're coming down into you. But really, you know, in the gym, I'm playing everything. I'm a full jiu-jitsu person, and you know, I like especially this time around for combat jiu-jitsu, like and even in the last like couple of years, I've really been focusing a lot more on the dogfight portion of the 10th Planet game. Like I'm really trying to make quarter guard and coming off on an angle and the dogfight and that whole like more basic half guard 10th Planet game really work. You know, I think we have a lot of guys that do really good with half guard, but they're not really they're not playing that full like 10th Planet quarter guard, starting from quarter guard game yet. We haven't really seen somebody take that like to a high level, I feel like, in the competition scene where they're playing quarter guard like Eddy does, you know. And Eddy plays that on all of us still, you know. That's, you know, you roll against Eddy, he's always going to put you in quarter guard, and he's always going to slowly work his way up until he sweeps you with that, and then pretty much usually he's going to arm triangle you after that. You know, but, you know, he makes that work on all of us, even though I think still we haven't really made quarter guard something that's working at a high level in competition yet. So that's something I really started focusing on, is like, I want to make that whole half guard dogfight starting from quarter guard game, like, you know, work at a high level. I want to be able to take that to a high level. And then on top, I'm always looking to sweep now. I'm always like rubber guards, like kind of like in the back pocket. I put that as like a back pocket, like thing of like, you know, when I'm trying to sweep and if they stop the sweep, but I'm always looking to sweep. And when I sweep and come on top now, I'm really focusing a lot on twisters, on twister side, you know, which in 10th Planet, like we don't turn the normal way towards the head and side control. We turn towards the hips, and we turn our hips towards their head, and we're focusing on their hips because we're looking to set up the truck. The way we want to take the back is through the truck. You know, when you are angled towards their head, it's because you want to either have them turn away from you and you're going to take their back off of that, or you're going to mount them, you know, but it's all kind of looking towards the head. Whereas, you know, our route to the back is through the truck. So we just look towards the hips. We use our hips to go kind of towards their head. And, you know, I hadn't really like made that a really big staple in my game. And in the last year, I've just been like focusing on like, okay, I'm going to make, you know, twister side a big, I'm going to really focus on that and really like focus on making the truck like something that I can make work. So yeah, I've really been focusing on that as well too, where I'm turned the opposite angle as most people would in side control, as we teach in 10th Planet to turn towards the hips and try and set up the truck. Yeah, I'm getting pretty good at like forcing that to work. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like kind of the dogfight angle, and then on top twister side, and yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay. Nice. We'll translate this one.
Habló en principio, ¿no? Cuando que se complica decir Hindulotine, dice que también
Sí.
es el licking guillotina, claro, una guillotina con pierna
Con
adentro.
la pierna adentro, exacto.
Él habla mucho de su juego, que es la rubber guard, no sobre todo, pero claro,
Sí.
dice que él hace de todo, ¿no? También dependiendo de la época, de
Sí.
lo que esté preparando, ¿no?
Exacto.
Habló un poco también, que lo preguntaremos después, por el compa Jiu Jitsu, entonces dice que muchas veces también depende de lo que esté preparando, cómo va adaptando su juego para la competencia que venga, ¿no?
Sí. Entonces, eso, decía que con su juego de rubber guard, que la gente ya intenta evitar que le lleguen ahí o que después de ahí le cierren la guardia, ¿no?
Sí.
Que llegue a guardia cerrada. Pero él dice que desde que ya está en rubber guard, desde que consigue el overhook a la pierna
Sí.
y después abrazar a la rodilla, pues ya ahí ya
lo tiene.
Ya lo tiene, exacto.
Sí, hablaba mucho también él dice que le gustaba mucho también el juego de gancho mariposa, pero dice
Exacto.
claro que eso antes funcionaba bastante, que ahora la gente tiene la costumbre de ponerse en pie para pasar la guardia.
Exacto.
Que antes se pasaba más guardia de rodilla y funcionaba más.
Sí.
Que ahora es más difícil.
Sí, sobre todo que la gente empezó a pasar más así desde que se empezó la explosión del juego de piernas, ¿no?
Claro. Y la SC también, creo que todo el mundo más por la lucha y tal. Que también hizo un poquito, también comentó que él también tiene un buen juego en pie por las luchas y tiene un buen pase de guardia.
Sí.
O sea que eso, que también de todo, también dice que también nombró que también le gusta de la arriba, que también le gusta canilla con canilla, que hace juegos más o menos.
Sí, sin el leg X, pero
Sí.
son maneras de ahora para neutralizar a los pasadores que intentan pasar de pie,
Sí.
para llevarlos al piso y después hacer
Claro,
su juego, ¿no?
ponerlo de rodilla para hacer su juego.
Exacto. Y después eso, que también lo que decía en Combat Jiu Jitsu,
Sí.
que ahí también durante los golpeos con la palma de las manos y eso, pues que ahí también puede aprovechar la transición a llegar a la rubber guard esa,
Sí,
¿no?
que
Y a
es-
su posición.
Sí, que en principio es una guardia creada para no recibir golpes, sobre todo.
Claro,
también,
claro,
¿no?
cerrar la distancia, ¿no?
Hablaba de eso, que también le gusta mucho la posición de dogfight, ¿no? Que es cuando te vas a parar de la media guardia con la esgrima.
Exacto.
Y también el cuarto de guardia, que le gustaría que esas técnicas, como que no cree que nadie les haya llevado al máximo nivel de competencia todavía, y le gustaría que también él poder hacerlo, ¿no?
Sí, forma parte del sistema Templanet, está trabajando mucho eso ahora, ¿no?
Sí.
Y nada, sí, dice.
Sí, comentaba eso, como que Eddy Bravo es el que lo ha llevado, ¿no? A competencias y tal, pero como que
Claro.
hoy por hoy no hay nadie que lo lleve. al
Sí,
máximo
dice
nivel.
que Eddy Bravo que se los pega a todos en el gimnasio,
Sí.
que siempre hace lo mismo, ¿no? Va a cuarto de guardia y después de ahí trabaja dogfight o lo que sea, raspa y después decía que lo más seguro que te acaba en triángulo de brazo, ¿no?
Claro.
Sí.
Y después comentó un poquito eso, explicó como que no es el típico sistema a la hora de cuando están en cruzada, que ellos traen, ¿no? Como que le cambian la cadera, porque es más que nada para intentar entrar de track, que es una posición que usan mucho ellos, ¿no?
Sí, claro, lo que decía él, que encara a las caderas del contrario, o sea,
Claro.
tú en cruzada, en vez de encarar hacia la cabeza, a
Sí.
la cara del contrario,
Claro,
¿no?
busca para buscar el gancho para entrar de track.
Exacto, porque normalmente si encaras a la cabeza, digamos, pues el otro o se va a dar la vuelta y ahí tú aprovechas para coger la espalda o tú vas a montada.
Claro.
Pero ellos tienen el sistema ese que hace la cadera casi a la altura de la cara, ¿no?
Sí.
Y de ahí para entrar al sistema de track y trabar toda esa
Sí,
secuencia,
toda
¿no?
la secuencia que tienen ellos ahí.
Sí, entonces él dice que ahora se está enfocando bastante en eso.
Vale. Le damos un punto,
Sí.
pues se nos va a ir la hora.
Sí.
Para eso, si está enfocado 100%, va a tener una competencia de compa Jiu Jitsu. Pero que por lo que hemos visto no es, o sea, sus juegos es un juego de Jiu Jitsu, como que no pega tanto como otros luchadores.
Sí,
No sé, si va a seguir haciéndolo así, haciendo 100% grappling, con lo justo de golpeo, ¿no? Como que incluso muchas veces se tira la guardia, que es algo que alguien no haría está tan confiado en su rubber guard, ¿no? Mucha
Sí.
gente no se tiraría por miedo a que le peguen un golpe.
sí.
¿no? Como que es un juego distinto dentro del Combat Jiu-Jitsu que hace él.
Vale, que sí, ¿va a seguir haciendo eso?
Sí, tiene pensado, sí, si se está preparando o piensa ahora hacer más hincapié en los cachetones, que no se lo ha visto tanto hacer.
Vale. Ben, now we want to ask you, like, focusing in combat jiu-jitsu, you still apply, like, most of your style is jiu-jitsu based, like there are not many slaps, not many slaps. Is that aspect of your game like still evolving? You're gonna incorporate more slaps, and Gonzalo was saying even you go straight to the guard, which when there are strikes involved, it's like a bit risky, if you would say so, but still you are very confident and you get the clinch like very good. Is there any aspect of your jiu-jitsu like related to combat jiu-jitsu that you're working on, or you're keeping the same style?
Yeah. It's, well, like for one, like I'm personally, like the way that I enjoy jiu-jitsu and what I'm doing, I think there's like a mental switch in your head if you're like trying to finish the person off a submission, or if you're trying to finish them off damage, kind of the MMA, like where your head sits in MMA versus where it sits in like a submission, like when you're finishing them with a submission. I think there's a little bit of a different headspace there. When you're finishing somebody off damage, you need them to like just like stop because you finish them with damage. And so like mentally, I kind of want to stay more on the submission side, but that being said, like there's still, I'm trying to find the place where, I can be using slaps to set up the submission, but it's really hard actually to have positions where you can like posture up enough in order to land a good enough blow and set up the submission, not put yourself out of position, because your contact and your position, everything matters, like I give up just a little bit of space, just a little bit of clinch, I'm giving up some of these hands would have been holding you, like that hand that's coming up to slap, it would have like had a good hold, and I would have been using my body to move, and then it would have been in place to like grab the next grab, Now it's like up here, it's out of place, like you'd never do this in jiu-jitsu, you'd never pick your hand up like that, right? So it's still kind of the same thing. So I've been trying to find like the positions where I can throw slaps in order to encourage like a submission to open up, but it's really hard to do that and not put yourself out of position. I find. I think you have to change your game a little bit. If you start having, there's certain positions, like if you were looking for jiu-jitsu holds that could really like keep a person like stuck, and then you could slap, and then you could finish. Like for example, like the hold that Khabib really likes to use, where he's like holding someone's arm like from the inside like that, and he really pins them down on the mat, and then he just starts doing his ground and pound. You could look for that style of a hold, or maybe you start going and playing like judo side, and you're just holding judo side really well, and then you slap from there. Or maybe you develop a certain kind of mount that allows you, but mount's really hard to throw. Even we see this in MMA anymore. Like you almost see no one like finishing from mount, like rarely. Like a lot of times they posture up, they start trying to hit, and they get bumped off, so they're always taking the back off of mount. So there's really only like a few positions maybe where you can hold and control the person and then start throwing strikes. Maybe like a gift wrap, if you hold around their head, hold their hand in the gift wrap, then you start slapping, and then they're gonna have to turn and give you an RNC. So I could kind of change my game to these holds, but the thing is those aren't holds that I really play. So for right now, like I am still like training like slaps at a certain point, because there's like a part of posture that's teaching me, and like hip engagement, like holding my hips, like how I can keep my my top position or wherever I'm at while I'm throwing these slaps. And I've even like started to notice that you can kind of the chokehold, you know, like this kind of like chokehold right here that actually like really like keeps you, like makes it so he can't bounce you off, you know. So that hold actually I'll use a decent amount, like I'll put that on, and then I can actually like start slapping, and that actually kind of keeps me in place, you know. So I'm still looking, I'm still like searching and interested to see if there's something, but for the most part, for my own attacking, I'm focusing more on just it being all jiu-jitsu, you know. And it also like helps me stay in a mindset where like I'm paying attention to only the jiu-jitsu side. And so when they pull up their hand to slap, I'm thinking jiu-jitsu, you know. When they move, I'm thinking jiu-jitsu. Whereas if I'm, you know, you don't really want any questions in your head. You don't really want to be like, you know, oh, should I strike here or should I not? You know, you need to, you know, so jumping back and forth can kind of confuse you. And it does confuse, like, you know, my opponents a lot. Like a lot of times they'll be trying to like throw slaps and they really shouldn't have thrown slaps there, you know. It just puts them out of position. Like maybe they get in one, but then they're off balance, and now I'm back on top of them. You know, they switch the momentum to me. You know, usually they're able to throw a slap because they're in a good position, but the second they throw that slap, they just gave up their position. You know, so I'm able to kind of focus more on the jiu-jitsu side, and I like that too. Like I feel like that's what interests me, is that I can. That I am pushing jiu-jitsu, you know, as the answer, you know, that jiu-jitsu is the answer. If it turned out that striking was the answer, I'd be like, well, okay, that kind of sucks. I'm training the wrong sport.
Yeah. Okay, man. Awesome. Nice. We'll translate this one. Nada, él dice que hay como un interruptor mental,
un cambio
¿no?
mental,
Un cambio
¿no?
mental, exacto. Si quieres acabar la lucha por finalización o por daño a base de golpes, ¿no?
Sí.
A tu oponente.
Sí, que él sigue siempre buscando la sumisión, ¿no? Él siempre lo encara como una lucha de jiu-jitsu.
Sí.
Pero siempre buscando posiciones dominantes donde él pueda soltar un buen cachetón, ¿no?
Exacto.
Pero eso, dice que él, que tampoco que es cuestión de porque claro, tenés que posturar para pegar, más él siempre prioriza no perder la posición, no perder el equilibrio.
Claro.
¿Entendés? Entonces entra en juego eso, de no perder la posición por pegar.
Sí, exacto. Él de todas maneras también usa los golpeos como para llegar a una posición, ¿no? Que luego le sea segura para él para finalizar, ¿no?
Claro, como que siempre sigue entrenando y intenta buscar una posición ideal donde pueda pegar sin perder en riesgo, sin tener el riesgo de perder esa posición, ¿no? Sí. Por eso decía, donde yo pueda tener una mano libre para pegar y con el cuerpo ir acomodándome de tal manera que de neutralizarlo, ¿no? Claro.
Después también decía eso, que sí es verdad que hay un cierto cambio en tu juego, porque ya si estás entrenando para Combat Jiu-Jitsu, por ejemplo, en Combat Jiu-Jitsu tú, por ejemplo, si estás en la guardia, pues para golpear, pues alejas la mano de tu cuerpo, ¿no? En Jiu-Jitsu eso no pasa nunca, ¿no? Claro. Entonces todas esas consideraciones sí tienes que tenerlas en cuenta, ¿no?
Sí. Claro, y contaba como que había muchos estilos, decía que cuando ves a Khabib demostraba el control de que controla el brazo lejano y le queda una mano para golpear sin el riesgo que se te vaya,
claro.
O como Gio, que hay gente que te puede cerrar bien en la guardia y pegarte desde la guardia.
Exacto.
Son dos estilos distintos, ¿no?
Sí. Y entonces, eso, por ejemplo, después también comentaba eso, que de la montada, que es muy difícil y que se han visto pocas finalizaciones, incluso desde MMA, ¿no? Que a base de golpeo desde la montada.
Sí, porque el tipo va a darte la espalda.
Claro, entonces él decía que usaba agarrar así
el ahorcar.
El ahorcar
con una mano y pegar, ¿no? Como para mantenerlo quieto en el sitio.
Claro, y a él le da más estabilidad también, ¿no? Si el otro se mueve mucho, lo que sea, y con la otra mano, pues le golpea, ¿no?
Hablaba también de este control que con Emmy decimos del patio de colegio, que es agarrar el brazo del compañero por aquí, ¿no? Agarrar este agarre y te queda la mano libre.
El gift wrap, ¿no? Le dicen, el empaquetado del regalo o algo así, ¿no?
Pero nada, aquí siempre sigue mejorando, entrenando y buscar mejorar cada posición, mejorar su estilo, ¿entendés?
Exacto.
Pero que casi siempre lo enfoca con la mentalidad del jiu-jitsu, siempre. Él va más a someter que a golpear.
Exacto.
Y nada, eso te dice que son tomar decisiones, ¿no? Saber cuándo puedes pegar, cuándo no puedes pegar, para no perder balance, para no perder la posición, pero no vale nada arriesgarte a pegar para caer en una posición desventajosa.
Sí, es verdad. Y eso, él dice que no debes tener dudas en tu cabeza nunca.
Claro.
Siempre tener claro tu juego. Y también él cuando se enfrenta a los rivales, pues intenta cambiar de Jiu Jitsu a golpeo y tal, de manera que, claro, tú estás golpeando, pues se centran en defender el golpeo, entonces tú ya cambias a una posición de Jiu Jitsu, ¿no? Claro, entonces que siempre ellos estén cambiando en beneficio de él.
Sí,
y entonces,
llevarlo para tu terreno,
claro. Y nada, así es como está trabajando un poco,
sí,
¿no?
Por eso es lo que decía al principio, ¿no? Ese switch mental de saber cuándo cambiar de una a otra.
Sí, exacto.
No sé qué falta. ¿Qué quieres tocar vos?
Bueno, él ha estado mucho tiempo en Europa y eso, en cuanto a seminarios, eso. Le podemos preguntar qué tal la experiencia con los seminarios. Eso. Ben, now we want to ask you, like, you've been teaching seminars in Europe. How has been that experience for you, like jiu-jitsu wise and outside the mats as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like, even with like doing my online stuff, I never, like, I had the ability to travel because I was working from my computer, but I never did, so I really only had ever been in like Oregon and California. I've really only been in like 2 states. I kind of just, once jiu-jitsu started and I was kind of focusing on that more, like I kind of was, I was like, let's just like wait for traveling like later, if you can like make it in the sport, then I was kind of thinking like if you can make it in the sport, then you can travel like off of these seminars, and that will be like the right time because you won't have to take time off the sport to travel, or take time off your business to travel or that kind of thing. It will all be like kind of one intermixed, And so I really hadn't started traveling yet at all. I'd only been in a couple of states, and after the combat jiu-jitsu matches, there was like a lot of like interest in me, and it kind of just happened out of the blue, really, because we had a lot of our guys will throw different jiu-jitsu camps in different areas, and one of our main guys, Jeremy Fields, he's always throwing like different camps, and he has like a lot of gyms in different like places across the world. He's always been traveling and doing jiu-jitsu like seminars like in other areas, and he was putting on this camp in Amsterdam, and Denny Prokopa was actually kind of like was supposed to be on it, but he fell through, and so Jeremy hit me up like literally like a few days before the camp was going to be on, and he's like, man, can you fill in for Denny like at this Amsterdam camp? And this was like right after, I think it was right after like Nick Honstein, like combat jiu-jitsu, Nick Honstein, with my match with him. And so I had had a couple wins and stuff and things, but yeah. And so I, just like bought a ticket like a couple of days before, flew out to Amsterdam. And that was kind of my first time too at a big jiu-jitsu camp like that. There's like 120 people at the camp. It was over a few days, and it was just so much fun. Like I was down there with a bunch of my friends who were also teaching, seminars across weeks. You have like, you have a bunch of the teachers, which are, pretty much, like different, like high level jiu-jitsu guys that you get to train and be around. And then you have all of these students who are like from all over the world. A lot of times they're flying in from all over. And so you meet like a really wide spectrum of the jiu-jitsu community, both like the students and the teachers, and you're all hanging out in like a new city somewhere, abroad. So jiu-jitsu camps, like that was my first one, but that like they're just so much fun. After that, I was like, man, I just need to keep on making jiu-jitsu camps, because I was also learning a lot, like these guys are like over 3 days, you have like 6 different instructors or whatever, and they're showing you some of their best stuff. And then you're rolling with these students from all over, and all these students want to show you what they're interested in, and you're talking to them. And so there was just always a ton of development for me over those like few days, and it was just super fun. So, but yeah, I figured I was already out in Amsterdam. I'm like, man, I'm already out here. The biggest thing is getting out here, paying for the ticket to get out here. Let's see what I can do. Let's see if I can get some seminars and maybe just keep traveling. My schedule is open, and I kind of had this idea about doing donation-based seminars. I didn't really see anyone else doing that. I'd never seen someone else like kind of offering that or as a concept, but I was just kind of thinking of that as like an easier way for gyms to give me a yes, for gyms to say yes to host me for a seminar, because I wasn't telling them, oh, you know, I need this set price. You need to pay me this much. You know, I'm worth this much or whatever. I just, you know, let's just, you know, invite everyone from your gym in and let's have a fun day. And, you know, they'll take my seminar, and afterwards on their way out, they can just donate whatever they feel like, you know. Because the main thing is, like, if I get a yes at these places, they're going to host me, you know, I'm going to be able to stay with them. Like, a lot of my costs are going to be covered. So even if I make not that much at the seminar, like, they're going to show me around. I'm going to get to stay in this new city. I'm going to get to travel, you know. So donation base just made a lot of sense for me. So I really just made a post. I'm like, hey, I'm in Amsterdam. You know, would anybody be interested in hosting me for donation-based seminars? And I just started having a bunch of people hit me up, and I just started like setting up like a route, you know. And I started traveling from there for like 3 months. You know, I went for like 3 months straight, like just from like gym to gym to gym, you know. And I would stay like 3-4 days at each gym and hang out with those people, get to know them, get to know their town and their city. And, you know, it was amazing. Like, I hadn't traveled at all yet. And now I was like, it's such a cool way to travel, because the second you get into this town, you immediately have a friend group, you know. Like, I'm going into a new place, and I come in and I meet all these people who have pretty much like grown up there. You know, they know what to do. They know where the best restaurants are. You know, and they're gonna show me around. You know, so I think it was really cool for me to see the really big community that jiu-jitsu connects you to. And you don't need to be someone like me to, like, you know, someone that's known or whatever. If you're just training jiu-jitsu, I think the first thing you should do when you travel to new places is go into a gym, you know, go into a local jiu-jitsu gym. Those guys are going to be able to show you like where you should eat and what you should do. And you're immediately going to have like a friend group there, like a community, you know. And it was really surprising to me to see like how there was jiu-jitsu everywhere I went. Like, it didn't matter like how small of a place I went to, there was still at least like one jiu-jitsu gym. You know, like one guy was holding it down in his town and like showing them jiu-jitsu, you know. And yeah, that really surprised me. So it's really cool. It's like, it shows me like I can basically get like a couch anywhere I go, you know? And that's kind of what I did. I just traveled couch to couch and just, you know. And also too, like, I would go to places where they, you know, English isn't their main language, and you know, I would actually teach seminars mostly visually based, you know. Like, I remember especially like in Italy, I would use a lot less words. Like, they would translate a little bit, but most all of them didn't speak English. So, you know, we had this shared language through grappling, you know. Like, I could really connect with people, and we could like roll and connect, like, you know, over this shared language of grappling, you know, and jiu-jitsu. Even though we couldn't speak the same language, we really got to know each other, I felt like. So, and we had a lot of fun still going down on the town and eating different food and sharing like culture. Yeah, I think, you know, jiu-jitsu gives us this shared language and also this shared, you know, this way to share like physically pretty close as well too. You know, you really get a feel, an actual physical feel for someone. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome, man, awesome. Okay, we'll translate this one. Nada, dice que antes cuando trabajaba de manera online y eso, que
claro,
tenía oportunidad de viajar, pero nunca viajó, ¿no?
Claro.
Lo único que había hecho era estar en 2 estados, básicamente, ¿no?
Claro, decía eso, que tenía la facilidad, ¿no? Trabajar desde el ordenador y no, sin embargo no lo aprovechaba.
Sí, exacto. Y nada, que hasta entonces solo había estado en Oregón y en California.
Sí.
Pero nada, después del evento este de Combat Jiu-Jitsu.
Sí, como que mucha más gente se empezó a interesar en él, ¿no? Se dio a conocer, digamos, de cierta manera.
Exacto. Y nada, su compañero dice que hay muchos compañeros de Ten Plan que hacen como seminarios y camps en distintas partes del país, ¿no? Claro. Y entonces Jeremy Fields que también entrena y tiene varios gimnasios en distintas partes del mundo y tal, y se encarga de hacer camps y eso. Pues había organizado uno en Ámsterdam y originalmente estaba Dani Procopos. Pero a los pocos días Dani no podía ir o lo que sea, entonces Jeremy llama a Ben y dice que si le puede sustituir.
Claro, y dice que se compró el pasaje con un par de días.
Exacto. Y fue para allá a Ámsterdam. Y era la primera vez que hacía este tipo de viajes, ¿no?
Sí. Nada, habla también de eso, ¿no? De que lo bueno que tiene esto de poder dar seminarios, que es, al final es viajar como forma de trabajo, ¿entendés lo que quise decir? Que
exacto.
El y aprovechar el viaje.
No desconectas de tu entrenamiento, digamos, ¿no? Del tatami.
Sí.
Y nada, que también eso, una experiencia increíble, porque en pocos días tienes no sé cuántos profesores de alto nivel y después vienen los estudiantes, que pagan y que vienen de todas partes del mundo, y que también era un proceso de aprendizaje para él, ¿no? Y también de seguir evolucionando su juego, digamos.
Claro, porque dice que incluso tenía hasta 6 maestros por semana, que él también aprendió un montón. Una experiencia grande, ¿no? Y eso, te das cuenta cómo funciona también un poco la comunidad, ¿no? Cuando conoces gente de todos lados.
Exacto. Y entonces, claro, le gustó tanto que dijo, pues voy a seguir, aprovecho y voy a seguir dando seminarios y eso y tal. Y entonces se le ocurrió hacer seminarios, pero a base de donaciones. ¿Esto qué quiere decir? Que él anunciaba que mira, estoy por Ámsterdam y tal, ¿quién estaría interesado en tenerme en su academia y tal? Y que lo haga a base de donaciones. Entonces, cualquiera que estuviese interesado le avisaba, él daba el seminario y tal, y los que terminaban el seminario, al salir, pues ponían la cantidad que ellos consideraban.
Sí, claro. Eso, básicamente eso también, le daban el hospedaje, claramente, se ayudaba también mucho eso, y se dormió en mucho sofá, también dijo.
Sí, pero claro, eso.
Claro, pero dice también que disfrutó mucho de esta experiencia, fueron 3 meses, como dijiste, y que también conoces el sitio de la manera mejor para él, que es a través de los locales.
Claro.
Saber a dónde ir, a dónde no ir, a dónde comer, tal, que es la mejor manera. Aparte, siempre que uno está de visita, como la gente quiere agasajar, te muestra los mejores lugares.
Claro, y quieras o no, después de esa experiencia de rodar el tatami y tal, esto, lo otro, pues se genera como un grupo de amigos, ¿no? Digamos.
Sí, aprovechó también eso para conocer mucho ciudad, ¿no? Que esto es otro de sus intereses.
Claro. Y nada, él dice que no hace falta que ser alguien como él o que tengas un gran nombre y tal, sino cualquier sitio que viajes, visita el gimnasio local y ahí vas preguntando, la gente mismo se ofrece, ¿no? Y te recomienda los sitios que visitar o dónde ir y tal.
Sí. Dice eso, que siempre los locales te van a ayudar, ¿no? Que él no ha tenido mala experiencia, al contrario. Siempre son serviciales y eso.
Incluso decía eso, que estando en Italia, por ejemplo, que el inglés no es la lengua materna, y que nadie hablaba inglés, pues que a través del lenguaje del grappling se podían comunicar, ¿no? Él podía dar las clases y tal, y la gente después rodando súper bien.
Sí, le encantó la experiencia.
Sí, exacto.
Y nada, y eso que se dio cuenta encima que hay gimnasios en todos lados. Dice que sorprendentemente en toda ciudad donde estás va a haber un gimnasio.
Exacto.
Nada, de eso sí. Con eso habló también eso de conectar, ¿no? De conectar con la gente a través de eso, decimos que es un deporte que cuerpo a cuerpo, como que se genera un vínculo como especial, digamos, ¿no?
Sí.
No sé, por mí estamos, no sé qué te queda.
Sí.
Creo que ya está también.
Le podemos preguntar la parte creativa.
Sí.
Que, bueno, el tema de la marihuana y eso con el Jiu Jitsu y él es consumidor activo y tal. Y que cómo lo usa él para su Jiu Jitsu y demás. Y los psicodélicos y eso, creo que también está muy metido en eso.
Dale.
Sí. Ben, we want to ask you, like you said before, like you want to be very creative with your jiu-jitsu and all this. We've done some research, and you use weed, and you've gone into psychedelics and this. How do you use that and incorporate it in your jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those things weren't necessarily so much about jiu-jitsu. Kind of like, I mean, of course they affect my jiu-jitsu, but you know, it's that was more just again, me as a person, like wanting to understand, you know. I always am like trying to, like, you know, just like as I've done with jiu-jitsu, like I kind of follow jiu-jitsu as a sport to kind of like to see what it would what it would teach me, you know, to be a competitor at certain levels. I wanted to see what that would teach me. And so the same thing with psychedelics. Like I kind of like waited on purpose until a later age to start with any of that, because I wanted to really understand first, like what I could see and understand, like just completely sober. You know, I knew a lot of things were happening because of age. You know, like if I had psychs at 16, well, you know, maybe I felt like it was this, but really that's just maybe what a 16-year-old feels like, you know, or maybe that's really just what it feels like to be 18, or, you know, like too many things are changing at those young ages anyway for you to know, you know, what is the psychedelic and what is just you being at that young age. I felt like, you know, so, and I really wanted to know like what they were doing, you know, what they offered, because whenever I heard anyone else talk to me about what they did or what they did for them, like it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. It didn't seem like they were being very clear. Like it didn't seem to me that they really knew what the psychedelic was offering them. So I wanted to be able to understand it a bit better when I approached it. So I wanted to kind of like put it in its place and its time and wait until it was the right time. So I mean, yeah, so there's kind of like a whole like story with that. But you know, I started with weed first, and I you know, it just kind of seemed like the right time, because at that time I was like focusing more full-time on jiu-jitsu, and I was staying at that fighter house in Oceanside, and pretty much all those guys smoked, and it was like kind of a regular like kind of feeling where they would smoke, we'd go train, and it was like a good mix, you know. So I just kind of decided to go ahead and join in with them, and that this was kind of the right time to try that out. And you know, it was really good for my jiu-jitsu. Like personally, there's like lots of things I could talk about like how it changed my, you know, perspective of things. But for my jiu-jitsu, it was good because, you know, at that time I was getting really frustrated. Like I was very like my approach was really logical. You know, I'd watch a lot of technique videos. And, you know, I was like, okay, this has got to be the best. This is the best. Like these are the best move sets, and this is the best way or not. You know, I was looking at everything very logical, and you know, my approach while rolling was very logical. But you know, I was rolling with guys like Gio and Kevin Burbrick and stuff who just, they kind of just flowed more. They kind of just felt out. They really just felt the answers in the situations, you know, and they you know, there was this aspect of sports where you have kind of the person with more like natural talent and flow and feeling in the moment, and those aspects I was more logical than that, I felt like. And so whereas I felt like, at least at first, like weed kind of helped me to just like drop into that. Like I had to like kind of once I started smoking, I had to, especially early on, you know, with weed, you in the start, you don't have any tolerance, you know. That's kind of like something that's specific to that drug, is like it takes time to get tolerance, and then it's like almost like a different drug afterwards when you do have tolerance, you know. But you know, so especially at the start, like it just drops you like right into flow, you know, like you just have to go with where you're at, you know. And so it really like helps me just like get past any of like the barriers of like frustration and stuff. And I was just, you know, especially Gio and them, they're playing music the whole time, loud music is going, and so I would just drop into the music and just be able to really enjoy my rolls and just flow and feel out for the answers, you know. And you know, that, you know, there's a line there where it's like too much, where like flow is, you know, there's a line, I think, in between like structure and flow, you know, where you go too much into flow and you need more structure, you know. So it's not so much that flow is, oh, it's so awesome, you know, it connected me to flow, and flow is so good. No, but it was something that I was missing, you know. It was something that I could connect to a little bit better, you know. And so it helped me kind of connect to that. It helped me kind of connect to kind of letting go a little bit, and just you know, I could listen to music in different ways. I could a lot of my internal chatter and my internal mind and this like logical structure I had set up got played with a bit through that, you know, and I could feel my way a little bit more through things. So I kind of was able to go heavier onto that side for a while. You know, I eventually need to bring it back to structure, I think, a little bit, but there's a game in between there, between structure and flow, you know. But I kept with just that for a couple of years before I tried anything else. Like, you know, and then the first thing I tried after that was mushrooms, and you know, and then later on I tried a few things, and those kind of really even just more, you know, like each of those are kind of like long topics, really, to be honest. It's hard.
No,
it's like kind of topics,
it's fine. Know? We can stay with this one. It's a pretty good. We'll translate this one. Nada, dice que empezó, pero no por tema de Jiu Jitsu, sino por un tema personal.
Sí.
Y que nada, un poco al igual que se metió de lleno en Jiu Jitsu para explorar el aspecto competitivo como atleta y tal y demás, pues que esto lo había usado como para resolver dudas internas y demás y tal, ¿no?
Sí, hablaba de eso mucho como empezó con la marihuana, sobre todo en la época que estaba en la Fighter House, con Gio y los demás, que todo lo hacían, ¿no? Y como que también era cierta manera como cuando estaba muy frustrado o muy trabado, una manera de fluir, ¿no? Dejarse ir.
Sí, porque él dice que él es muy analítico, muy pensamiento lógico, ¿no? Sí. Entonces Gio y Kevin Burbick, que tienen un jiu-jitsu como más fluido, que responden al momento de lo que está pasando en cada situación, no están todo analizando en cada momento, ¿no?
Claro.
Y que nada, él dice que eso, que empezó con todo esto mucho más adelante en el tiempo, no era adolescente ni nada, sino que quería... Mentalmente quería tener
esa soltura,
claro,
¿no?
Exacto, y no experimentar lo que experimenta un adolescente que lo estaba consumiendo para divertirse y tal, sino con un poco de cabeza, ¿no?
Sí, lo consumía con ciertos fines, ¿no? Con eso como de soltarse y fluir más.
Exacto.
Y eso, y justo también que decía que yo ponía música, que eso mezclado con la marihuana y con el rodar, como que lo ayudaba a hacer más las rodadas más naturales.
Más, ¿no? Naturales, eso es lo que estaba buscando, claro. Y nada, él dice que también que la primera vez que la consumes, que lo experimentas de una manera totalmente diferente a cuando ya tienes cierta tolerancia, ¿no? Sí. Incluso dice que hasta pueden parecer drogas diferentes, ¿no?
Claro. Nada, eso que lo ayudó a ser un poco menos estructurado quizás, ¿no? Como que es lo que sigo considerando, como que lo veo como un estructurado de esta manera, no. Es más suelto.
Exacto. Él dice que esa parte de flow que como que él sentía que le faltaba y que con esto un poco lo controló, pero que dice que siempre tiene que haber como un equilibrio, ¿no? No quiere decir que el flow es lo mejor y que siempre eso tienes que estar ahí, sino una vez estás ahí, luego tienes que saber un poco encauzarlo y volver a la parte... Exacto.
Eso que fue al principio, pues bueno, habló un poco por arriba también del tema de los hongos, que es algo más psicodélico. Y pero no se quiso meter mucho más de lleno porque es un tópico, ¿no? Como que la gente lo ve mal y tal.
No, y que como que es un tema aparte, ¿no? Que que ya para meternos eso ya otro podcast distinto sería, ¿no?
Sí.
Entonces, nada, le preguntamos si él quiere añadir algo más.
Las gracias.
Vale. Ben, we think we have covered everything we wanted to talk about with you. Is there anything else you want to add that we haven't talked about? Anything you want to say?
Just real quickly, because since we talked a little about psychedelics, you know, I just would say that, you know, it's, I kind of like just saying that much. I paint a real rosy picture of it, but you know, it has its negatives and its positives, and so, you know, I'm not like necessarily like pushing that as like a super, you know, go down that route and it's gonna be super good for you type thing, you know. You know, the most important thing is that you have a good sense of community, that you're connected to people around you, and you don't let that go away. You know, you need to stay connected to people, and you need to have a general direction and of things that you're doing. You know, you know, it's just something that it's just another thing. You know, at this point, really, I'll smoke weed a little bit every once in a while, but really I'm sober most all the time.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, Other than that, you know, I got the combat Jiu Jitsu matches coming up March 21st. So, you know, tune in and see that. You can find me on Instagram at Bjj you know, this was a good chat. I really enjoyed your guys' questions. It was like a good, you know, you guys asked like good questions, a good talk. We went down a nice like lane. It was fun.
Yeah, same here, man. We'll translate this one and then we'll let you go. Nada, él decía que eso, que todo el tema este de los psicodélicos y la marihuana y todo eso, que tiene sus partes positivas y negativas, que es otra cosa totalmente aparte. Lo importante de esto es que tengas una buena comunidad, gente que te apoye y que tengan objetivos comunes, sí, y que estés centrado, vamos.
Sí,
que
no tener buena relación con tus cercanos, ¿no?
Exacto.
Buenas conexiones con tus amigos.
Exacto. Y nada, él decía que yo no estoy proponiendo aquí que todo el mundo ahora se ponga a fumar y a consumir y tal.
Dio su versión y ya está claro.
Sí, exacto. Él de hecho dice que ya casi prácticamente que no fuma, que a lo mejor muy de vez en cuando, pero que se mantiene sobrio.
Con esos fines que decía, ¿no? Siempre.
Sí, pero que ya muy poquito, ¿no? Pero que nada, él decía eso, que eso es un tema totalmente aparte, ¿no?
Sí, y nada, que después, el 21 de marzo, Combat Jiu Jitsu, que estemos atentos, que lo sigamos en las redes, que ya iba a poner como siempre en la descripción.
Exacto, ¿no? Sí, lo pondremos.
Así que nada, estaremos atentos, como siempre lo vemos.
Exacto. Ben, it's been a pleasure. We enjoyed it a lot as well, and all the best in the future.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.